Heather Campbell, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, what kind of bodybuilding do you do?
Here comes my dog. She wants to be part of this too.
Kind of
I
dog?
was, or when I am bodybuilding, I compete in NPC, the National Physique Committee Federation, in figure.
How long you been doing that?
So I started competing in 2018 and had been lifting weights before that, but had never competed.
And what pushed you into it?
Um, a bad breakup, honestly, and just really, I wanted to do something that I had never really thought would be something that I could do. And so it just became this challenge and I guess just a lot of fun and doing something that was so outside my comfort zone.
How many different types of what would you call it? Bodybuilding competitions are there for women?
Different types.
Yeah, like you see, there's like the bikini, there's the regular bodybuilding. Like, there's more than like the men's side, right?
There are, and it also depends on what federation you're in. In the NPC, which I'm most familiar with, for women, you have bikini, figure, a new division called wellness, and physique and bodybuilding.
Okay, so I've been I started powerlifting back in 2001, and I really the world of bodybuilding and women's bodybuilding. I've been like I said, I've been competitively powerlifting for 20 years, and I know absolutely nothing about bodybuilding. It's a
Yeah.
foreign world. Even though we're in the same gym and touching the same bars. I know nothing about it, so that's why I want to talk to you.
Great.
So, so why all these different types of categories?
Mainly because there are so many different body types and physiques. And this really gives the opportunity for women to, any woman really, to be able to bodybuild. And if you are not interested in putting on a ton of muscle, which, let's be honest, for women really requires some enhancements.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to get that big and muscular, there's a lot of other categories for you. Um, I did forget the fitness category. Fitness is more of like the real aerobic side of bodybuilding, where you pose, but you also do a very aerobic routine as well. But the physique is very similar to figure, which is the division I'm in. So bikini, and it's really been changing over the years. Bikini, when that was first introduced, was a category for women who had athletic figures but weren't very muscularly defined. And you don't have to get super lean like you do if you are in the bodybuilding division. So they added that category. It used to be just bodybuilding, and then they added physique, which is probably a step down muscular wise from bodybuilding, and does require you to be really lean because they want to see the striations and they want to see as much definition as you can possibly have.
Yeah.
And then figure's been around for quite a bit, and that really focuses on the X shape. So you have very developed shoulders, back, small waist, and then bigger thighs, glutes. They're not really looking at chest development. They're not looking at calf development. They're not really looking at arm development like they do in physique and bodybuilding. And then bikini is very, very focused on kind of the overall package. and an athletic look without being too lean. They want to see broad, developed shoulders. They back is really not something that they look at. That's why most of the girls have really long hair in bikini, because the judges aren't looking at your back.
So where you're lifting is it drug tested?
So NPC is not drug tested,
Okay.
but there are a lot of federations out there that do drug test.
Okay, so you have different federations where they have tested and non-tested, same as powerlifting.
Yeah.
Powerlifting the same way. Let me think. How? See, I think bodybuilding. This is just my general guess. Is going to take up more time in the gym than as powerlifting would, right? So really like a squat day for me. I mean, if I'm not just being lazy, is like an hour and a half. But I would think for a bodybuilder, a leg day is going to be 3 hours or something like that.
So I'm a good person to ask that question, since I do both. And bodybuilding, when I train for bodybuilding, I train 6 days a week. And I hit shoulders twice a week. I hit back twice a week. I hit glutes 4 days a week, glutes and hamstrings. And I do like heavy, more compound leg work 1 time a week. So I was in the gym 6 days a week, roughly 2 hours each session. Now I'm 100% focused on powerlifting this year, and I train 4 days a week. And my workouts are long though. I'm generally in the gym 2.5 hours, but only 4 days a week as compared to 6.
Yeah. I mean, I really couldn't see a program powerlifting 6 days a week. I mean, maybe some light accessory work on some of those other days, but I mean, it just doesn't seem plausible. But when did you start powerlifting?
Last fall.
Oh yeah, and what started that?
Well, I've been the gym I go to, that I've been going to for the last 4 years, is a powerlifting gym. And I was basically the only bodybuilder, and I would just kind of watch what all the powerlifters were doing out of the corner of my eye. And I helped out at several meets that my gym hosted or other local gyms were hosting. And I would be a handler for one of my friends at the gym, or just help out checking people in, things like that. So the back of my mind, I was always pretty curious about it. And the owner, who's now my coach too, he was always like, so when are you going to come over to the dark side? And last year with COVID and chasing my competition like all year long and being in prep for almost 10 months because the competitions kept getting moved out, I was just so ready to take a break from the dieting. And I was just like, now would be the perfect time to try powerlifting.
Yeah, you get to be chubby and lift at the same time. It's better. Well, okay, so I think that bodybuilding aspects should be incorporated into a long-term powerlifting program. So I would say, right, like, you go to a competition, like you're doing 1 rep maxes before it, your power levels are high. You do your competition, but then after that competition, like you need time to pack on some, I think, muscle growth. And I think that's where the bodybuilders really that's their specialty, right?
Mhm.
That's what you guys know how to do the right, what to eat right, how much to eat, not to overeat, And just you guys are just mentally prepared to be doing, 5 sets of 8 reps, whereas like, I'm not. I want to do like 3 sets of like 3 reps, and I'm going to a competition on June 3rd and like June 13th, and I really at this time I'm going to do it for a while. I'm going to spend some time, in like the hypertrophy zone. See, I don't even know how to say it. If you want to say it, you're a bodybuilder.
Hypertrophy.
Yeah, yeah. Hypertrophy. So, well, and I think so you grow, so if you hit that hypertrophy zone for a while, right? And then move closer and closer towards like a competition to power. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think like we need to like blend the sports a little bit. Like I think more powerlifters need to learn a little bit more from the bodybuilders in the sense of like diet. Because
sorry.
Okay. Just watch the dog's butt.
Sorry. Can you sit, please?
Okay, so what would you have me do right after this competition, June 13th, right? How long do you think I should stay in that zone doing 8 reps? Or how many sets of 8 reps? And what should I be eating? And like how right? I should be gaining weight during that time, right? Because otherwise, if you're not gaining weight, right, you're not gaining muscle mass. I think.
So that's not necessarily true.
Apparently everything I say. Yeah.
So I competed the first weekend of April I did a powerlifting meet, and the week after was a no barbell week, and it was all hypertrophy. And so our coach, basically left it up to us what we wanted to do in that week. He just said no barbell. So I did went back to my bodybuilding roots, and I did several bodybuilding workouts. And then after that, started my training. I'm going to nationals in July. And so I started, after recovering from the meet, fully recovering, started my nationals training. And that started, which I'm still in, it's a volume block. So while you are hitting your squats, your bench, and your deadlifts, there's a lot of accessory work too that's focusing on engaging the muscles that you need to be as efficient with your bench as possible, as efficient with your deadlifting and with your squats, and staying healthy too, because you're under so much load or pulling so much load. So as far as eating goes, well, with the volume training, I mean, it's some of my sets have 20 reps.
Ugh.
So it's getting up there, and it's learning how to be explosive, like especially at the top of your deadlift.
Yeah.
And so there's a purpose behind everything. And as far as eating goes, I would say the most important thing is to make sure that you're getting whole, clean food like 80% of the time. You don't want to just eat crap, because that is really not going to help with recovery. It's not going to help with muscle development. You need to make sure you're eating enough protein, because you've got to have that protein to build muscle. And you want to be smart too about what carbs you're choosing. And I think to have the best performance and get the most out of your workouts, make sure you're getting plenty of carbs, a couple hours before you work out, and then, an hour or so after you work out. That's where I would recommend most of your carbs be. And on your rest days, keep the protein up, maybe increase your fat a little bit, and maybe drop your carbs a little bit. You are going to gain weight over time if you're putting muscle mass on, but you don't necessarily have to gain a ton of weight in the off season of powerlifting to gain strength and gain muscle. It's really more about figuring out what your maintenance calories are. So, like to keep your weight steady. And then if you want to say, I want to gain 10 pounds, I want to move into the next weight class up, or I just, really want to try and get my strength up as much as possible. Yeah, you may want to gain some weight,
Yeah.
but I don't think you need to gain a huge amount of weight to gain strength.
Yeah. Like I'm at the point where like if like I say if I have to gain 100 pounds to throw like 30 pounds on my squat, like I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't care anymore. So with the bodybuilding, 6 days a week, like 2.5 hours a day, right?
Mm.
You're able to juggle your life in with that.
So I did. It's a lot easier now because I own my own business, and so my hours are a lot more flexible. But for 11 years, I had a corporate job that was extremely demanding, and I traveled a lot. And so what I did was I always researched ahead of time, like where's the closest gym to the hotel I'm going to be staying at. And I would a lot of times just contact them and just be like, hey, I'm going to be here for a week. You guys do a week membership, and, or, can I come in and work out a few times? I would try to arrange that ahead of time. For food, a lot of times I brought my food with me. Especially if I was on prep, I brought my food with me. Or I got like, one of those residence inn type hotels where there's a full kitchen so I could cook my food. And, it really, it depends how dedicated you want to be. If you want to bring your best to the stage, you got to figure out how to stay on your diet and how to keep training.
Yeah, that's the problem with bodybuilding because you're always training because
Mhm.
the food is half the battle or more, and it depends on the person. And yeah,
Yeah.
I can do the 2.5 hours. I could sit, work out with you in the gym doing that, but the eating part of it, I couldn't handle it. No way.
Yeah.
That's why like I totally have respect for like I have respect for all different fields and of lifting, strong men and whatnot. But the bodybuilders are training all the time. They're training all the time, and
Mhm.
it's a mental battle. I really respect it. Um, are you coaching anyone now?
So that is my business. I have a strength training and nutrition coaching business. I don't train bodybuilding or powerlifting specifically. I train more general strength training. And, but I do have athletes that I train. I have a couple of triathletes. I have an MMA fighter that I do strength and nutrition for. But mostly I have lifestyle clients who just they do the cardio. Everybody knows how to do the cardio. But strength training is still not the norm for most people. So I help with doing strength training programming, and I have online clients and I have in-person clients.
How do you deal with the clients that aren't as dedicated like as you are? You know what I mean? Not maybe not. You can't expect people to be as dedicated as you are, but that aren't dedicated. Does it drive you nuts?
I would say that for me, it's frustrating because I know that they would feel so much better and they would see results faster if they were more consistent with their training. And so that's where my frustration comes in, is that they're not I have all my clients set particular goals, and
Right.
that's what we work around. And they're never going to meet those goals if they aren't consistent. And I share that information with them and we talk about it. And so I feel as a coach, my job is to help kind of get to the bottom of why aren't you being consistent, And here are the benefits of being consistent. And so just reminding them that if you were consistent with your program, you'd lose the weight, your body composition would change, and you'd get stronger a lot faster. But I as a coach, I'm here to kind of guide you, but it's not my job to do the work for you, and that's really ultimately their choice.
Yeah, that's fine. That's almost this same saying in like a recovery program where it would be like if you're someone's sponsor, the
Mhm.
saying is like you can't want it more than them.
Right.
Otherwise, you can drive yourself nuts. That's funny. He said just like a recovery program. Um, uh, so now that you're into powerlifting, right? Do you,
Mhm.
do you still do core workouts?
Core.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
my wife and tons of people. It's a lot of people finally talked me into doing core work. I'm finally doing it. I did a plank. I did it for a whole minute yesterday. That's for me. It's just that's a big deal. For you, it's probably a joke. You probably do like. Uh, so are you doing raw or equipped powerlifting?
Raw.
Raw.
Mhm.
Let me ask you a question. Why are you doing raw?
That's what everyone at my gym, that's what we train for raw. So if I was going to do equipped, I might need to be at a different gym or have a different coach. Um, and in bodybuilding, I'm natural, so it kind of just goes along with that. I do natural bodybuilding. Why not do powerlifting with the least amount of help?
Yeah, we started powerlifting. Me and my wife. We met on a college team.
Mhm.
Both were on the team. We we started raw. I think when did I think Paul Bassi and Al Siegel, they started two different organizations, that the ADAU and 100% Raw. They started them both in 1999, like 2 years before we started lifting. So when we started raw lifting, it was brand new. Like no one was lifting raw. Um, and we actually went to a USAPL meet, and we went raw, and that was at a time when they didn't have a raw category. Everyone was lifting single ply. People thought we were crazy. People were out of our minds. They were like, "You're gonna hurt yourself. You guys are crazy." And then 20 years later, like almost everyone's lifting raw now.
Mhm.
And yeah, and you know why we went raw was because we had like 30 kids on the team, and no one had money for the equipment.
Oh.
So we went raw because we were poor, and, we, and then we just stuck with it, and
Yeah.
it just grew, it just blew up, and then the other organizations, well, instead of going full raw, they started to have like raw competitions within their organizations. But yeah, that and Paul Bassi, he started the the word raw. I did a podcast with him a couple weeks ago, and it originally was a Christian organization, and it was raw. What started it stood for redeemed amongst the world.
Oh.
That's no one knows, just me and you, and like the 80 or 90 people that listen to that podcast. Yeah, but that's what it was originally was. It was that is redeemed against the world, incorporated, and then someone else joined the organization with him, and they turned it into 100% raw. But
That's so interesting. I've always been really curious. Why do they call it raw, you
well,
know?
No one knows. Only, yeah, me, you, and the few people that listen to this.
I'm in the inner circle now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Oh well, I guess this pertains to bodybuilding too, right? Because I always ask like powerlifters and strongmen, like, how has lifting helped you through life's toughest moments?
Mhm. I think that it's probably similar with bodybuilding and with powerlifting, because I think anytime you lift weights and lift heavy, there's something that happens, with your mindset, with your attitude, and it's impossible to not have it grow into every aspect of your life. And I think a lot of it is the confidence that you gain when you lift this metal thing, right? And it's more than you weigh, and you lift it up. And it's such an accomplishment. And the other cool thing, both with bodybuilding and even more so with powerlifting, is you gain like almost every week. There's some new accomplishment every single week. Every time even every time you step into the gym, you have the opportunity to do something you've never done before. And that just keeps accumulating. And when you look back, like where you started to where you are now, the growth is incredible.
Yeah.
And there's so much mental training that goes into it too. Like with bodybuilding, the nutrition, the gym 6 days a week, the focus on individual body parts, and the amount of time that it takes to get to a certain place. Same with powerlifting and gaining the strength and improving your technique and becoming a more efficient lifter requires a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of grit, and it just, you see so much growth all the time. And it's like, how can that not translate into every area of your life? Because you're like, if I could do that in the gym, why can't I do that with anything in my life?
Yeah, that's a really good answer. Um, yeah, it really does transfer into any aspect of your life.
Hmm.
Because if you're, I'm gonna hate on people that skip the squat in competitions. But let's say let's say you're someone that only goes to a push-pull event always and avoids the squat.
Hmm.
There's gonna be things in life you're gonna avoid too, and not gonna be able to do. But sorry, people that only do push-pull events. You do. Hopefully, you do all three lifts.
I do raw full power.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And that was a new thing too when I started powerlifting. It was just all the you just squat, bench, and deadlift. That was just the competitions, and it really was like the early 2000s when they started this push pull thing,
Hmm.
and then they started doing single lift. You could pick whatever lift you wanted, and now this single lift, but you're not even allowed to do the squat as a single lift. Do you see that on the forums? Well, I wanted
Yeah.
to have my son go to a competition and just do the squat because he's 9 years old, and he's doing pretty good with the squat right now. And you can't do a single lift squat because
Yeah.
and you,
Bench or deadlift only.
yeah, because the meet director knows that no one's going to sign up for the squat. Uh, so, do you have any advice for a new bodybuilder or powerlifter?
Well, one, it's never too late to start. I tell my clients that all the time because I did my first bodybuilding competition at 47, and I just did my first powerlifting competition at 50 and qualified for nationals, and also got 4 Oregon State records. So, really, honestly, you can start at any time. And I would say that There is no other exercise that you can do that comes as close to the fountain of youth as strength training of any kind does. Anytime you put resistance on your muscles, you are improving every part of your body. And cardio is not going to do it. And Orange Theory is not going to do it. And CrossFit's not going to do it. Not that you shouldn't do those things, but strength training needs to be incorporated into everyone's exercise routine. You have to build muscle. You have to have your muscles under tension to, I mean, it gives you longevity. It stops your back from hurting. It stops your neck from hurting. It, you know, it just does so many wonderful things, and all your organs benefit from it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned CrossFit. No, I hate CrossFit. Why do you hate CrossFit also?
I wouldn't say I hate it. I did it for 5 years, and it's what got me just so hooked on lifting. I will say though, as an older athlete, CrossFit is very hard on your body, and it's really hard to keep good form when you're going as fast as you possibly can. And all the repetitive part of CrossFit is very hard on the body. So, you know, I'm not going to tell people not to do it. I'm just going to just say, just be careful.
All right. Well, let me ask you one question. Why did you wind up starting in CrossFit other than starting in bodybuilding or powerlifting or Olympic lifting? What is it that all of these people get into CrossFit first?
Mhm. I think it's so accessible, and it's done as a class. And I think a lot of people are more comfortable with that because somebody's telling you what to do and you just show up at a certain time. So there's an accessibility, and there's I think, like, you don't have to figure it out. You just show up. And I think it's cost effective for a lot of people. Personal training, coaching, prices a lot of people out. And so I think that's a big part of it. And I mean, I don't know how it is by you, but in Portland, I'm in Portland, Oregon. I mean, there's a CrossFit gym on every other block.
Yeah, I got this is my basement. I got 2 squat racks. My wife throws food down here. I don't really leave. There's a CrossFit gym in Warwick, in New York, by me. I have no idea what's going on there. I live in my basement down here, so
Mhm.
I really I hate lifting in public gyms. I can't stand it. I can't
Mhm.
stand all the different. This every gym you go to, you find the same people. There's the same personalities. It just annoys. It just annoys me. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I challenge you, if you ever come to Portland, you have to come to the gym where I train, because I promise you it is not like that. It's really unique, truly, because I traveled all over for work, and I have trained in gyms all over the country. I've trained in gyms in other countries, and um Ironside, where I belong, is truly unique.
Yeah, I've never been to a powerlifting gym. You know, I've just the gyms I've gone to were just regular gyms. I mean, the closest thing that I've come to it, a powerlifting gym, was back in like the '90s. There was this gym in Brooklyn. It was underneath the pool hall, and
Mhm.
it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't zoned to be a gym. It wasn't supposed to be there. There's no advertisements for it. You know what I mean? Like it was, and in the back you had um, it was always Pat Susko was always there. You know, he was on the cover of Powerlifting USA magazine. He had a 925 squat back in 1992, which was back then was like huge because they didn't have all the crazy squat suits and everything back then. So he was there. we would lift with him, and it was a great time. It really was. You're right. I really had a good time then. The other side of the gym, where like just the general where the machines and stuff were, regular those normal people did float around and they were annoying.
I know what you mean about the corporate gyms. Corporate gyms are they are the same no matter where you go. So I will be in New York in September. And how far are you from Campbell Hall?
I know where you're going. I'm like 20 minutes away.
Granite Barbell? Have you been?
I've never been there. I know there was a girl who was on our team who trained there for a while, and then just came over here.
Yeah. So come work out with me there when I'm there in September.
All right, well, message me, and yeah, I'll take the ride over there. It's only 20 minutes from my house.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, you can see how little I lift. It'll be interesting. You'd be like, really? You've been lifting for 20 years, and that's all you can squat? Boy, I'd ask you if you were a cat or a dog person, but clearly you're a dog person.
Yes. I like cats too.
Yeah. What's that, a pit bull?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a rescue. I've had her for 2 years.
Yeah. I had to buy a dog, but like people always ask like, oh, did you get a rescue? I'm like, no. And then they look at you like you're a monster. And I'm like, well, I'm allergic to cats and dogs. Like I had to get a hypoallergenic dog. You're not going to find one of those in the shelter.
No, it's very, very hard. Yeah.
You know? Well, when people always ask around here, like, oh, did you get a shelter dog? Like, no. They just look at you like you're a monster.
That's an unfair judgment.
You know what? 99% of the people I do podcasts with are men, and I always ask them, "Can you take lifting advice from a woman?" But I'm gonna guess you probably could.
Yes, I definitely could. We have at my gym there are 2 female powerlifting coaches and they're awesome. And I have male clients, so they listen to me.
My wife, like I said, she was actually lifting maybe like I think she started like almost a year before me, and it's been probably 20 years or so for me to finally start to take advice from her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've screwed up like so many things because I would refuse to listen to her. Like the biggest thing that comes to mind was I bombed out of a meet because I didn't listen to her. I was training while she was pregnant, right? She wasn't lifting. She'd come down, watch me lift, and I was doing box squats at the time. I was like, oh, let me try this whole box squat thing. And she was like, you're just like a little high. And I'm like, I know what depth is. I'm like, I know what depth is. Get out of here. And I bombed out of that meet.
Yep.
Yep. We're talking about this whole hypertrophy thing.
Yeah.
She started doing that after competitions, like for like 2 months or so. I was like, that's it. That's stupid. And now, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going from bodybuilding into powerlifting, I definitely have an advantage with benching, particularly because I know how to flex my lats. I know how to engage my lats. And same with deadlifting. I know how to tighten my back and get everything, get that wedge and lift that weight. And it definitely made a big difference for me to like ramp up really fast, transitioning into powerlifting. And I'm one of the strongest female benchers at my gym. And I think it's solely because I have such a developed back and I know how to use it.
Yeah. Well, my advantage in the bench is that I have a big butt. And that, so as when the bar touches my chest, I have about 4 inches of drive without my butt coming off the bench. So that's my big secret. Have a big butt.
Big butts really help. And bodybuilders have big butts too.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's forget about the powerlifting. Let's see how hard you trained in bodybuilding. Have you ever peed during your bodybuilding training?
No, and I don't pee in powerlifting either. And
Yeah, trying hard enough.
I have a very strong pelvic floor, is what I've been told.
A lot of girls have that problem, the peeing problem. A lot of girls have that.
Yeah, and it has to do with, seriously, it has to do with your pelvic floor and how you bear down when you're lifting heavy. And it's really an anatomical thing, and you can train yourself not to bear straight down. So if you bear straight down, chances are you're probably going to pee. But if you can like use your pelvic floor to go this way as you're lifting instead of straight down, then you don't pee.
Are you talking about like the Ed Cohn thing, like with where he says point your taint towards the back of the gym?
I'm not familiar with that.
Look up Ed Cohn and point your taint.
Okay.
I mean, the guy's probably the best. He's the best powerlifter of all time, and that's his phrase. He's like point your taint, and I think that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah, but yeah, I've had a lot of girls peeing down in my basement.
It's very common. It's very, very common. And I don't know if you know who Meg Squats is. Like, that's her Instagram, Meg Squats. She developed, underwear basically for women powerlifters that, because most women pee, a lot of women pee when they're lifting. And so instead of like wearing like a bulky diaper or something, she developed this underwear that is pee proof.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, my wife she wears just like a pad.
Yeah.
She knows. She'll know pretty much like when she's gonna need it.
Now I will say, I climbed, rock climbed, mountain climbed, ice climbed for like 20 years. And I will say that I did pee when I was rappelling one time because I had to go so bad. And as soon as I started rappelling and the pressure was on my harness, I just totally peed.
It happens. Hey, listen, for the longest time, every time I hit a PR in the deadlift, a little bit of poop would come out. It was like a personal record celebration. But that was because my form was so bad, and I'm fixing that now. Actually, if you want to, I developed a name for my disgusting deadlift form. I would call it the reverse fruit roll up.
Ew.
Because that's basically what my back was. My back would I would do unroll like a fruit roll up. But yeah, so now I finally gotten to the point where my ego has gotten lower, like below the point where I'm like, okay, well, I need to fix this now. Mm-hmm. Because before, with that stupid higher ego, I was like, no, I can't drop the weight. I can't do it. But now I'm doing it, and yeah, so I don't care.
I think that's the benefit too of listening to advice from female coaches or somebody who's very experienced. Women, I think, have the ability to keep the ego out of it a lot better than men do. And so we're going to pay attention to a lot of stuff that men just put blinders on, and they're like, oh no, I know what I'm doing. And women can be like, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'd really love your advice.
I don't think I've ever said I don't know. Never.
You should try it. Your world will open up.
What's your best lift? What would you say is your strongest lift?
Deadlift.
Deadlift? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to guess your bench because you said
my bench is getting there, and I think I have the potential to relative to my size, I think I have the potential to bench pretty good numbers, but I'm already like on deadlift because I just love deadlifting too. I always have.
Yeah.
Um, I'm already deadlifting more than twice my weight. And so like I feel like I have a lot of potential there too. And I don't have the fear with deadlifting and benching. Like with squats, fear is definitely holding me back there. And I probably could squat a lot heavier than I do, but I've got to work through this mental barrier that I have.
It it takes time. Like,
Mhm.
it's funny. So many people I talked to like started around like when you did. It must have been like the CrossFit craze or something like that. Because and now they're powerlifting or doing Olympic lifting or strongmen, and it's really not that long of a time. Like I know if maybe it feels like it. You're doing it for 5 years. It feels like a long time. Oh, wait, 5 more years
Mhm.
squatting is just you're not even going to think about it. It's going to be like the deadlift or any. It really does. It becomes almost like a leg press.
Mhm.
Because after you've gone to, I don't know, I've gone to probably 50 competitions. I usually do it like two a year, uh, 2 or 3 a year. Like after you've been to that many competitions, after you've been, you squatting twice a week for so many years, you get under the bar. It, you don't think about it. You don't think about it. I mean, right now I'm thinking about it in the deadlift because I'm changing my deadlift. I was pulling sumo, now I'm doing conventional. And what do you pull? Sumo or conventional?
Conventional.
Yeah, I don't have the legs to pull sumo.
One of the women at my gym, she's an engineer, and she does a lot of experiments with her lifts and looking at the data and to figure out best form and that sort of thing. And she just did an analysis of deadlifting and based on torso length to femur length, and she created this chart. And so like if you're short torso, long legs, you're balanced, same length torso, same length legs, and like whether sumo or conventional is better for you. And I turn like where I fall on the chart, it's 100% conventional.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing sumo. Back when back when I started deadlifting, when I started lifting, they used to call me the Riddler because in my squat, my back would look like a question mark. And so that's basically that. So that was where I started from in powerlifting. And in the deadlift, the coach, he had 30 kids to worry about. He really wasn't too concerned about every little piece of someone's form. And he would come in, try 2 plates, try 3 plates, try 365, and he didn't care. My back looked like I was bent up, whatever. I was picking it up. You know what I mean? I was doing it, and and that was just the way I went. And at some point, we had the great idea that, well, the further out I have my legs, well, the straighter my back is.
Mhm.
So it did help a little bit, but I still had that whole my hips popped up first, and the bar would come up quick to my knees, and then I'd have to unroll my back. And I've gotten to a point now where I can't advance it anymore. It's just not. Maybe I've gotten too old to pull that way, but it's not working for me anymore. So uh, I tried dropping the weight. We tried doing sumo, and I cannot pull anything off the floor that way. I
Mhm.
mean, nothing. I mean, yeah, a plate or two, but I just don't have the legs for it. I don't think. Conventional, I mean, I put up a video on Instagram. I think it was 255 or something like that, and I was able to, have decent form and get my hips through, and everything looked nice and it looked pretty. So I'm like, okay, I think I could work with this, you know. So I'm gonna go with conventional. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have to listen to our bodies. And I used to, before I got into powerlifting, I mostly pulled sumo. And then when I started powerlifting, it was all conventional. And then I hurt my back about 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks before this meet that I did in April. And so I switched to sumo because sumo didn't bother my back. But then I pulled my hamstring. And because my body just really, it does not like sumo.
Yeah.
And I can do mixed grip no problem with conventional, but when I try to do mixed grip with sumo, my the hand where the palm's up, I can't keep that arm straight. It keeps my elbow bends, and then it skews the bar, and then it's just a mess. And I've tried hook grip, but like over 200 pounds, I just can't, I can't stand the pain on my thumbs. So, so for the meet, I went back to conventional, and luckily my back's been cooperating.
The weird thing is with me is that, like, it's not a lack of back strength. It's a lot of brain strength, because, like, I'll come up to the bar, like, I'll think my back is straight, and my wife will be like, "Yeah, you straighten out your back,"
Mm.
So I came up with this idea. I do a Zoom call with myself. I put the laptop on and the phone on, right, on a Zoom call to each other, and I watch my back while I'm doing it live, and it really helped a lot because I can literally, I'm watching I'm watching my back in a sideways like view, like
Mhm.
live, and it's really starting to click. Like, when is my back straight?
That's really smart to do that.
Yeah, it's probably the only smart idea I ever had. But yeah, that was it.
I take video of all my lifts, but I watch it in between sets. When I'm resting between sets, I'll watch and look at my form and then make corrections. But to be able to actually watch yourself as you're doing it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't recommend it to something to do like all the time, but if you've got an issue
Mhm.
that like you're trying to like work out, then I would, I would try it. Because
Yeah.
like I never recommend to anyone like I always tell people like that are gonna go to a competition, someone that's new, that whatever you're doing in the gym, make sure that that's the conditions it's gonna be at the competition.
Right.
Like if you're blasting music, just as loud as you can all the time, and you're gonna go to an organization that doesn't have music on,
Mhm.
and it's just like quiet while you're lifting, it's gonna screw you up.
Yeah.
If you wear a headband all the time, and then that organization's not gonna let you wear that headband. Don't wear that headband. You know,
Mhm.
these things will mess you up. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, like I've I've had the music thing happened to me at a meet. I was training with just crazy music on, and so certain organizations they just don't have music. Certain organizations have music playing. I know
Right.
one in Ireland before this whole lockdown went down. Then they actually had a band
A
playing,
live
a
band.
live band. Yeah,
How fun.
yeah. And I was like, that's cool. But I was like, yeah, I would want to know that that was going to happen before I went to that competition. I
Yeah.
would just get myself mentally ready for that one.
That could be distracting.
Yeah. There's some organizations they have the strobe lights and flashing lights and neon lights. It's all different organizations have different ways. Like 100% Raw around here, the way I go to, they're very old school. It's very, like there's no music, there's nothing. It's just quiet. With the bodybuilding competitions, they probably had music and stuff like that and lights and everything.
Yeah, the stage lights, super bright stage lights. Music, so my division, you don't select your own music. They play music, but we don't have routines that we do to music. There's mandatory poses, and you do have an individual, you come out and do individual poses, but it's not like a routine to music. If you do fitness, physique, or bodybuilding, you do pick your music and then you have a routine that you do.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? At the bodybuilding, is there age groups?
Yeah,
There
there
are.
are. Masters starts at 35 and goes all the way up.
So it's 35 and up.
That's masters.
That's a big age group.
Well, oh no, they break it up.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so
Oh,
it's either it depending on the show, it's either 5-year increments or 10-year increments.
okay. All right. So
Yeah,
it's like powerlifting.
very similar.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I had no idea. I thought it was all the same thing.
No, they do the age, and then you can also, but you can do open. Like, so for bodybuilding and for powerlifting, I do open and masters,
Yeah. Yeah. We get 2 trophies.
pretty much.
That's why I do it. What's the dumbest thing you've seen in the gym?
Just any gym anywhere. Oh my goodness, I've seen so many dumb things. Um, gosh, I don't know. Probably the thing that I see that's the dumbest is eh, bicep curls where people just do this.
Oh yeah.
Bicep curls.
That's an actual competition. Do you know about that?
No.
Yeah.
Is it really?
You ever hear of power curls?
No.
Look it up. It's a sport.
All right.
Well, have you heard of strict curling?
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
Had that out on the West Coast?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, strict curling is a new event. A lot of 100% raw organization, meet directors are doing it now. I know one event in Ireland had it. It's getting popular. It was gonna be at the Arnold Classic this year, but I think because of COVID, it's spacing stuff out. They're not having it. But the strict curl I like. The strict curl is basically you take it's like an easy curl bar. You can take an outside or an inside grip. You're standing. Your feet can go out up to 12 inches from the wall, and your butt and your shoulders and you have to stay on the wall. Your knees have to stay locked out, and you just basically you bring it up. So there's no jerking, anything like that. Your knees just have to stay locked out, and it's basically like a bench. Your shoulder and your butt has to stay on the bench. I like it. It's a pretty fun event.
Do you use a bar or you use dumbbells?
Easy curl bar.
Easy curl bar. Okay.
Yeah. So let's do it real quick. You take the easy curl bar. So you have like the line on the floor. So your knees got to stay locked out. Your butt and your shoulders got to stay on the wall. And you got to bring it up, and they'll tell you down, and they'll tell you to rack. And it's a lot of fun. But the power curl is what you were talking about, and they turned it into an event. The power curl is you just stand up. You can't move your feet, but you could bend your knees back, and you just get it up, and you can come back as far as you want. And there was actually an event the other night. It was an online meet, and what guys got up to like 260 pounds or something like that. But these are some of the guys that were strict curlers, and they wanted to do it, and it was. But yeah, they turned like that. What you were talking about, it's an actual sport now. Yep, power curls. Uh,
Yeah, I the guys that I see do it it's mostly the box gyms. At a powerlifting gym, you don't see anybody do this, but it's with dumbbells and they're way, way, way too heavy.
yeah,
And they have to throw their entire body
yeah,
in, and they're not even really using their bicep at all.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I did an interview with the guy Bruce Knox. Got I think he might have the second biggest straight curl in the world. But if you look at him on Instagram, or you could look at my strict curl, which is like only 100 and like 113 pounds.
Mhm.
But it's a lot when you're standing against a wall and you have no momentum.
Oh, yeah.
Hard.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really
That
hard.
was hard.
But yeah, if you look through my Instagram feed, like I always have videos of doing the strict curl because my other list, the technique is so horrible. That one it looks good. That's probably my best list, but it's really not a powerlifting list.
Yeah. But I imagine that it probably helps with your bench.
I guess maybe my bench has been doing good. Actually, I don't know. I've been all of a sudden I'm getting close to 40, and I'm actually starting to see some pretty decent gains all of a sudden. So I don't know. Some people are telling me it's like, yeah, it's like you get around your 40s, it's like there's a little like a strength boost there. I'm like, I don't think that's scientific or anything.
Maybe it's just muscle maturity.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm like, all right, whatever. What do you think of a power lifter could do bulk and cuts?
I think that you could, um, but you'd have to be really strategic.
When
So, hey,
would you bulk? Be, when would you like? Let's say like there's a competition coming up that's 6 months away, right? Like when do you bulk and cut? Like do you? I have no idea.
so you wouldn't want to cut getting close to your meet. I would say that if you're within 3 months of your meet, I would not do a big cut unless you're trying to get into a lower weight class.
Yeah.
Because lots of people do that. I cut 5 pounds in the last week, so that I could make the weight class I wanted to be in. But it's not unusual for somebody, to cut 15, 20 pounds in the last week or two. But if you want to do a cut for aesthetic reasons, um, if you do it over a long period of time, like if you're patient and you can spread it out over many, many months, you can still gain a lot of strength.
But is the theory like that? Like you need to bulk and cut, right, to get stronger without getting fatter.
I don't know if that's necessarily so true anymore. I don't think it's that black and white. Because you can get leaner without dropping a whole lot of weight, if any.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of what you choose to eat and your carb timing.
Yeah. What would you have to eat?
You just have to eat clean. You just have to stay away from processed food, and you have to eat a lot more protein. Most people don't eat enough protein. So you probably have to up your protein. And I'm not talking about drink more protein shakes. I'm talking about eat more steak, eat more chicken, eat more eggs. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I would say, little to no alcohol and get away from processed food.
Yeah, alcohol is just calories that are going to do nothing for you.
Calories, and it also inhibits your metabolism. So you end up storing a lot more fat.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't drink anymore. It's not good for me, at least.
It's not good for most people.
Uh, what about creatine? You know a lot about that?
That is actually the only supplement that has a huge amount of science behind it. And it has been proven that creatine does help build muscle. So, if somebody is interested in building muscle, I recommend that they take creatine. Some people are more sensitive to it than others, and there are forms of creatine that avoid water retention. Some forms of creatine, people will retain a lot of water, but there are a lot more out there now. The way it's formulated, it doesn't do that. But um, what I've seen for the most effective dosing is like to take creatine, like if you do a pre-workout drink, put creatine in your pre-workout and then take creatine right after your workout, because it helps with recovery too. But that's pretty much the only supplement on the market that has the science backing that it really works.
Yeah, I think the only two things I use is creatine and some whey protein.
Hmm.
That's really it. I mean, anything else I've looked into doesn't, like you said, like the scientific research really isn't like that there for it.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? The that's the thing with the bodybuilders; they're always ahead of the curve. They are with supplements and stuff like that. They're
Mhm.
always ahead of the curve. Um, so are you on this gym that you go to? Are you on a team?
Yeah.
What's it
Yeah.
called?
So Ironside is the name of the gym. And so we're Team Ironside.
I tell you, Wrecking Crew, the better name.
That's a good name too.
How long have they been around?
Um, I've been with them over 4 years, and I think they were around maybe 3 years before, 3, 4 years before that.
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to a lot of gym owners, the powerlifting like gym owners,
Mhm.
and well, especially the Olympic lifting gyms. Like, I can't remember the guy's name. He was a coach in the for the Olympic team for years. He has a gym in San Francisco, and he's like, my gym would not be around if it wasn't CrossFit. For all the spillover, from all the athletes coming from, like I said, like, but you spelled it out the best, like why these athletes are all going to CrossFit first, and then coming into Olympic lifting or going into powerlifting. They're basically seeing the different things, and they want to specialize in them and get better at them instead of getting better at pull-ups. Um, Yeah, no, you had the best explanation ever. And yeah, all these gym owners, they all say the same thing, that yeah, if it wasn't for CrossFit, we would
Mhm.
all be out of business. The whole sport of powerlifting would be the same thing. It would be like the same couple organizations with, I don't know, the same 15, 20 people competing, and their spouse in the stands. That's the way it was. Now there's just, well, you have COVID now, but even before COVID, you had the gym meet directors were capping their their uh, their competitions. That was unheard of a
Mhm.
long time ago. Capping, they would take anyone. They would let me compete. They just it's the whole sport, all these sports have changed. I hope this COVID thing goes away, and the stuff these guys get back to. We're all, in the United States, we're doing better. I'm friends with a couple of guys that own gyms in Ireland. They're still shut down.
Yeah.
They are still shut down. They're not getting the aid that the gyms got here, all these loans and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They're not getting that in Ireland. They're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what's happening in India is really scary because, they don't have the resources that, we have or any European country has. And it just worries me that what if that starts happening in other places?
Oh, it's going to.
Yeah. So Oregon right now, we're experiencing a big increase in cases. And so our governor just shut down indoor dining again and reduced gym occupancy to 6 people
Did you get
per hour. So it's gotten bad again in Oregon, but the experts are saying that this should be a shorter surge. Like it's going to go way up and then it's going to come way back down in just a couple weeks. That's what they're saying. So fingers crossed. I'm not fully vaccinated yet. I get my second shot on the 10th.
Yeah, I just had not an argument, but a friend on the team doesn't want to get the COVID vaccine because she's worried about side effects. I'm like, Linda, she's got cerebral palsy. I'm like, Linda, I was like, you don't want to get COVID, Linda.
Yeah.
Linda, you don't want to get COVID.
Yeah.
She's a real inspiration. This girl, Linda, she got cerebral palsy, and I had to make I made her shoes because I actually just learned this word. Right? Was it her foot does like a plantar flexion, right? So as she squats down, I don't know what muscle it is that's spastic, but her heel comes up. So I was like, you know what, get her like below parallel. I got the height, and I made a shoe exactly that height. Well, I didn't make the whole shoe. It was a wrestling shoe, and I kept gluing soles onto them and grinding it down onto the ankle.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's if anyone was to see her lift who was like unmotivated and watch her lift, they would just be so embarrassed, man. This lady is so determined. And
yeah, there was a competitor at the meet that I just did with CP, and it was awesome. It was awesome to be able to compete with him.
Yeah, her name, she's Linda Strong. Generally, that's really her middle name.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I'm gonna send you my wife's name too, because I think you should convince her into doing I don't know, whatever bodybuilding category you think she should do, because she's 103 pounds. She deadlifts 250.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a strong
Yeah.
yeah, and she's pretty lean too. I mean, she could probably go to a show the way she is now, but yeah.
Yeah, she's on Instagram.
Yeah.
We
Jill,
should follow each other.
yeah, at JM Naziri. I'll message it to you at JM Naziri.
Okay.
And she posts once in a while. I got her to post more because I was like, yo, it's just like, you can't just like be a creep on Instagram and like watch everyone's stuff and never post. So every once in a while now she'll post like
Well, that would be really fun when I'm there in September. Both of you, let's go to Granite Barbell together.
Yeah, we'll bring all of my wife's whole little powerlifting crew. We'll have a good time.
Yeah. You guys, the owner's awesome. He's a former strongman champ, and he's the nicest guy in the world. He'd love to meet you guys.
I'm pretty sure he knows who my wife is because of there was a girl who was lifting with him, and then she left him, and then came to lift over here, and then we kicked her out too. Yeah, they kicked her out, then she came here, and then we kicked her out. He'll want to know the whole story about why we had to kick her out. Oh, I won't put that on. I won't put that online.
You can tell me offline.
Yeah. You know what? Oh, let me end this. And